Snipers in Destiny have always been incredibly underwhelming to use inside of endgame PvE content. Aside from maybe one or two exceptions, most snipers in Destiny 2 are mid at best. You don't get a lot of ammo, they are rarely supported in the artifact, and there are a bunch of easier weapons to use such as rocket sidearms and fusion rifles. And because of this, it's almost impossible to create a build that revolves around snipers and their playstyle. However, today I created the perfect build that allows for a particular sniper to shine as it was always intended to. Critical Anomaly is one of only 2 or maybe 3 snipers that I think are actually worth acquiring and using at the moment. It's the only sniper in the entire game with chill clip. This perk is so strong it carries every weapon it's found on. Not only can you stun both overload and unstoppable champions when you apply slow and freeze, but you'll also lower the enemy's damage output when you exhaust enemies with the slow effect, lowering how much damage they will do to you. On top of that, this effect can be enhanced to lower the damage output even further with the Disruptor Spike artifact mod. Not only can Critical Anomaly do all that, but currently snipers this season can stun barrier champions if you equip anti-barrier snipers found in Episode Heresy's artifact mods. So for a limited time, Critical Anomaly can stun every champion type in the game, all from a safe distance where enemies won't pose any kind of a threat. Your 4th column perk doesn't really matter as much because there are a bunch of amazing options to choose from. You really can't go wrong with any of them. I personally have triple tap on my Critical Anomaly, which will refund ammo after landing 3 crits, but you can also get explosive payload for a passive 15% damage increase, or you can have Chaos Reshaped, which will provide you with a 35% damage boost after being in combat for a couple of seconds. For the actual build, you'll need to be on a Stasis Warlock with the exotic Osmiomancy gloves. Your Cold Snap grenades will recharge every time you freeze an enemy with your grenade. The Warlock Stasis aspect Ice Flare Bolt is going to spawn extra Stasis Seekers that freeze enemies when making contact with them. If your Cold Snap grenade freezes an enemy and you shatter them, a Stasis Seeker will spawn that the game counts as a Cold Snap grenade, which will contribute to generating grenade energy after freezing other enemies. The other Stasis aspect we're using is Glacial Harvest. This will allow Stasis shards to spawn when freezing combatants, which when collected will provide damage resistance via the Stasis buff Frost Armor. The maximum amount of Frost Armor you can have is ×5, which only provides 22% damage resistance. But with Whisper of Rhyme, that increases the max stacks of Frost Armor you can have to ×8, and at that amount you gain 36% damage resistance. Using Whisper of Conduction will allow all Stasis shards to track to your position, making it easier to collect them and activate Frost Armor. However, if you don't want to use this fragment, I would recommend swapping it out with Whisper of Rendering to allow your primary ammo weapons to deal increased damage to frozen targets. The remaining fragments you'll want to have are Whisper of Fissures for extra damage when shattering frozen targets, and Whisper of Bonds to spawn in extra orbs of power when defeating frozen enemies. So because we intend to play a bit farther back with a sniper, it only makes sense to use another weapon that would complement Critical Anomaly. The weapon I chose for this build was the exotic bow Monarch for its damage over time, which can damage multiple enemies if they're close enough together. On top of that, if any enemies are frozen, the damage over time can shatter them, spawning in another Stasis Seeker that will track towards the nearest enemy and freeze them. And lastly, the mods found in the season's artifact enhance Monarch a bit further. Volatile Marksman will allow Monarch to apply Volatile to enemies after getting a couple of precision hits or after you get a couple of kills. Then the artifact mod Maligned Harvest will add a weakened burst to your next shot after rapidly applying Volatile to a couple of enemies. Monarch was already good enough on its own, but these artifact mods take this weapon to the next level. And finally, for my heavy weapon, I decided to dust off the good old Strand LMG Pro Memoria. I needed a heavy that would be viable in pretty much every situation I would find myself in. LMGs are excellent at ad clear, but also deal a decent amount of damage to bosses and champions. The perks I have on my Pro Memoria are Hatchling because of the synergy with the artifact mods this season, and Target Lock to simply increase my damage over time when shooting at champions and bosses. The artifact mod Heavy Ordnance Regeneration will grant an increase to our damage resistance, allowing us to take more damage after dealing some sustained damage with Pro Memoria. Unraveling Orbs will allow Pro Memoria to unravel enemies after collecting an Orb of Power, and Horde Shuttle will occasionally spawn Threadlings when you damage an unraveled target. That's not even those artifact mods' final form. You can boost them to have extra effects with the Tomb of Want. Enhanced Unraveling Orbs will increase the damage Strand weapons deal against Strand debuffed enemies, and Enhanced Horde Shuttle will cause your Threadlings to sever the enemies they damage, creating a nearly endless loop of increased damage for Pro Memoria. The remaining artifact mods a part of this build are Elemental Siphon, Dreadful Finish, and Gold from Lead. Both Dreadful Finish and Gold from Lead synergize perfectly with each other. One spawns special ammo after finishing a powerful enemy, with even more dropping from champions, tormentors, and subjugators. The other has a chance of giving you heavy ammo when picking up a special brick. The game counts orange bar enemies as powerful enemies, so on harder content, when you run out of special or heavy ammo, you can go around finishing majority of the ads to spawn ammo for you and your team reliably. An Elemental Siphon will provide extra super energy when picking up Stasis shards, allowing you you to cast your super more frequently. For your stats, definitely prioritize 100 resilience to have a passive 30% damage resistance, as well as high recovery and high discipline to recover your grenade, health, and healing rift as quickly as possible. And for armor mods, have on an Ashes to Assets and Strand Siphon mod to allow Promo Moria to spawn orbs when getting rapid eliminations, and to get extra super energy when getting grenade kills. Remember, freezing an enemy with the Ice Flare bolts that spawned from a Cold Snap grenade should count as a grenade, leading to more super energy gained. 1 Strand Loader mod to increase Promo Moria's reload speed, and 1 Firepower mod to generate an orb of power when getting a grenade kill. Because Whisper of Bonds is equipped, when killing a frozen target from the Cold Snap grenade, you'll spawn 2 orbs of power instead of just 1. On the Lake piece, have Innervation along with Recuperation to instantly regen some health and grenade energy when picking up an orb of power, and a Stasis Scavenger mod to increase the amount of ammo you receive for critical anomaly when picking up a special ammo brick. And finally, on your class item, equip a Bomber mod for some grenade energy when using your healing rift. Not like you'll need it, but it's nice to have. And Proximity Ward along with Special Ammo Finisher. Proximity Ward will provide you with a protective overshield every time you perform a finisher, and Special Ammo Finisher will spawn extra special ammo for you and your team after performing a finisher while you have 3 stacks of armor charge. This mod does stack with Dreadful Finish and allows for what seems like at times infinite special ammo. The gameplay loop is super simple. It's not complicated at all. When coming across groups of enemies, start by freezing them. If it's a group of lower tier enemies, just use a simple melee attack or throw a grenade to freeze the group. Shattering them will spawn Stasis Seekers that will continuously freeze them until everything is dead. If you come across a tougher enemy or something like a Shrieker, pull out Critical Anomaly and snipe them twice to freeze them from a distance. Then shatter them to spawn an endless amount of Stasis Seekers to freeze more enemies. Use Luminarch whenever you wish. The poison damage along with volatile explosions pair great with the Stasis Seekers that go around freezing enemies. And Luminarch has Unrelenting, providing you with some health after getting a couple of rapid final blows. And lastly, use Promo Moria if you want to unravel the enemies in front of you and spawn a bunch of Threadlings and Tangles, or if you need a better ad clearing weapon. And of course, you'll want to use it when you come across a champion or boss enemy. Again, this build is really simple. It's just freeze enemies and shatter them with whatever weapon or ability you want to continue the chain of freeze. Sometimes if there's no enemies around, the Stasis Seeker will turn around freezing the enemy you just shattered. This build does take some time getting used to because after all, you are using traditionally long-ranged weapons like bows and snipers, but it is a very effective build at ad clear and boss damage. And that's my critically underrated Stasis sniper build. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, subscribe for more, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.